Before we get to our show, here is a podcast we think you're going to love.
Hi, I'm Glennie, and I'm the host of Let's Share True Stories, a podcast where I share my own personal experiences and try to seek out yours as well. If you have a crazy yet true, unbelievable story, please share it with me. I love to cover true crime, UFOs, paranormal, mystical shit, occult, macabre, whatever. Anything flies as long as it's true. So have fun, come join me, and hold my hand as we jump down the rabbit hole together of what is crazy ass truth in life.
Oh, wow. Is this going to work? Let's find out. Perhaps it's you. It's your favorite Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast, and it's also very unofficial, and it's also dedicated to BD Wong. And my name is Liz.
And my name is Samantha. I feel like will this work is like the mystery at the center of all of our episodes.
Well, do we even make a podcast? Has anyone heard it? Maybe.
These are questions I'm not sure we have answers to.
Has BD Wong heard it? Let's just say yes.
We'll say yes. I'm pretty confident the answer to that one is no, but he did respond to our Instagram.
Was that the highlight of 2021 for me? Maybe. It was up there for sure. It was one of the few good things that happened. So thanks, BD Wong. Thanks for that. Yeah. All right. I could not believe my eyeballs. Yeah. How are you, Samantha?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
You're like, I'm alive. I showed up to do this. Let's just do it.
That's what I mean, that's the bar, isn't it?
That's what I hear in your voice. It's like, Liz, let's just get this over with. I've tolerated you long enough.
This is the second episode we've recorded this weekend. We're really on a roll.
I feel like I only emerged from hibernation to record podcasts. It's not really true, but since that's like literally my only plans for this weekend was, well, on Saturday I'll record a podcast, and on Sunday I'll record a podcast, and otherwise I won't leave the house. It's really cold and COVID-y out there, so Okay, I did have a few updates for the top of the show. Great. I wanted to thank listener Meg and listener Jessica for gifts that they sent recently. Now, I'm not going to spoil the surprise because Samantha hasn't seen these gifts, but I'm going to mail them on to you, Samantha, so you can enjoy them.
Oh, I'm excited.
I know. So thank you very much. That's super sweet. We really do appreciate that. Yeah, you guys are rock. That's so nice of you to do that. I want to say more, but also it's cooler if you have a surprise. That's why I keep pausing because I want to be like, and this part of it is so cool. But
by our next episode, I assume I'll have received it, and then we can talk about it.
Then we can actually talk about it. Great. Okay, and then I wanted to plug our zines. Our second zine is now for sale. Let's just hope that as you're listening to this, I'm sending them out. I think I've overcome the last hurdle, I think, in getting these motherfucking zines done, which turned into quite a thing, but whatever. I think we're done. I think I'm going to be able to send them out. So details for buying our very cool zine are on our website, perhapsitsyou.com, under merch. You can just send us money through PayPal. We'll send you out a zine. It's $15. That includes shipping in the US. Now, keep in mind, if you're a contributor or if you're at our top level Patreon tier, the super duper mystery solver, you're going to get a zine. So look, do you need to buy one too? Yes. Like, have one to keep in mint condition, have one to read, sure.
But just maybe you want a gift for someone. Maybe Valentine's Day is coming up.
I would love to hear of someone giving their Valentine a Perhaps It's You zine. That would be incredible. Also, that is just a ticket to romance right there. That is
absolutely.
That is a lifelong romance that you are embarking on when you give. Actually, the idea of giving someone a zine does have it's almost like giving someone a mixtape. It has a sort of
I like
an old school hotness to it. Yeah, I am kind of into it. So those are currently for sale, and they're very cool. They have craft projects in them. There's a spell. There's a Mad Lib. I mean, You're gonna want to get it. The name that we could not recall last episode to think was Jacqueline, who did
Okay.
the data analysis.
Thank you, Jacqueline. You are a hero.
And sadly, I didn't have a zine within arm's reach to grab and reference, but it was Jacqueline. So thank you so much for somehow going through all of our episodes and crunching the numbers of how many thumbs up we've given and Robert Stack ratings and all of it's
And also just like
remarkable.
There's a certain amount of like extrapolation you have to do too, because we do some weird shit. Like if you're trying to figure out what was the lowest rated episode ever, it's not as straightforward as you might think. And so Jacqueline really did the hard work of like analyzing the data, not just putting it out there, but like analyzing it for you. So you really have to read it. It's quite something.
It's almost like we haven't taken us that seriously, and that made it a huge mess.
Almost.
It's almost like that. It's almost like we don't know what we're doing, and we keep that sort of fly by the seat of your pants, mood, or
that's the vibe for sure.
Yeah, exactly. We keep that vibe going throughout the whole damn thing. And some people seem on board with that, and we appreciate you 5 listeners so much. I mean, enemies, I don't care, whatever. But
look,
our
friends, a download.
Well, you're right. Oh, I also wanted to thank Deidre for this really nice 5-star review that she left us. That was so
a
sweet.
Lovely review. We actually haven't gotten a lot of 5-star reviews lately. I don't know if everybody who's listening has already reviewed, but
I think we might have.
Your mom's Amazon or your mom's iTunes account is all I gotta say.
Yeah. Okay, my speculation is that literally every single person who has listens to this show has left us a 5-star review, and there's no one left to leave anymore.
You get in your mom's iTunes and
leave us another one. Like if someone just like leaves their phone unattended while they go to the bathroom, pick it up, go to their podcast app, leave a review for that. Okay, they'll never notice. It's fine.
This is your homework, listeners.
Yeah.
Make a burner account. I don't know what you gotta do, but
if you're hooking up with someone and their phone is on the nightstand, don't go through their personal information, but do open their podcast app, search for Perhaps It's You, leave a 5-star review. They'll never know, and they'll never know.
While you're in there, take a peek at what they're listening to. If it's nothing but Joe Rogan, get out.
Get out. You should be that meme of the girl that goes back to the room and it's like got the Jordan Peterson books, or I don't even know what that originally that meme was, but sometimes it's like flat earth stuff, or sometimes it's a globe because that person's into like they go back to his place and there's a globe and she like runs out. And I love it when it's edited, so she's running out holding his TV. Like, not only is she not gonna have sex with him, but she robs him. So good.
That's you after you've taken a peek in what they're listening to by way of
what? This is only Joe Rogan. The other day, Joe Rogan was trending for some like COVID reason, probably. But all I could think about was me at the Crew Time podcast festival, where apparently I don't even remember this. I can't remember this. This dude told me that he basically only listens to Joe Rogan, and I said, "Yeah, that makes sense." And that's all I can think of now when his name comes up. It's just me looking a guy dead in the eye and going, yeah, that makes sense.
So
funny. Oh, that feels like 1 bazillion years ago.
So long ago.
I cannot believe at this point that I've known you so long that there's like the old days. Do you know what I mean?
Like Samantha, the old days.
Samantha, remember the old days where we could go outside and like go to podcast festivals? And
yeah, we almost went to the Mothman Festival.
Oh my god.
We planned, and then COVID fucked that all up.
Yeah, when I called the Low Hotel and they were like, that will be $1 billion. And I had to be like, oh, well, I'm going to talk to my business associate and call you back. Because renting a room at that during the Mothman Festival is so expensive. Oh my god. Anyway, hilarious. That seems like so long ago, though. And that's really sad to me.
Yes, it is.
But we're going to cheer ourselves up by talking about Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, this is season 7, episode 2.
Which you can watch on YouTube or Tubi, or preferably not Amazon, but it's on there too. just for your disposal, you know. Or we'll just tell you about it. You don't need to watch it at all.
I mean, I spoiler alert, kind of like this episode, so you might want to watch it.
I feel like this episode, first of all, 4 mysteries. Thank you. But the variety.
Also, this is like, for some reason, a really quotable episode.
It's
like,
got
I don't know what the writers were doing, but like, damn, there are some zingers in this one.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's pretty well done. None of the segments are super long. I think we do get an unnecessary update, so that's a little bit of a thumbs down. But in general, quality.
Yeah.
Samantha starts off this week.
Okay, this is the paranormal, and it's a haunted hotel in Liz's favorite place, New Mexico.
I honestly texted Samantha that I can't believe I got the Lost Love and you got the haunted mansion in New Mexico. I don't know why, but that's not the way this usually works out.
It is not how it usually works out. So
I'm openly jealous that you get to talk about this.
If we weren't so committed to the way we do this, we would have just like switched because I'd love to have the Lost Love, but we have a method and a process, and we cannot stray from it.
I live and die by that code.
Yeah. So we are at the La Posada Hotel in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Robert Stack says nestled between its adobe walls is a 100-year-old Victorian mansion, and that recently that mansion has become the focus of an unusual high-tech investigation.
Ghost hunting.
So Robert Stack assures us that no crime has been committed here, no one has been hurt, and no one has disappeared. Believe it or not, he says, this team of investigators is looking for a ghost.
And I was like, yeah, Stack, I do believe it because that's the 7th season of this show.
This is not the first ghost hunt on Unsolved Mysteries. I don't really understand why he's making it seem like we previously believed that the only kinds of investigations are earthly.
It's like, yeah, Robert Stack, I do know there's people out there hunting ghosts because it's Unsolved Mysteries. But, okay, as we've seen from this show also, lots of people in the 80s were in a coma. I don't know why. It's pretty common. So they're assuming you just woke up from a coma.
You have to always assume that.
You've never seen Unsolved Mysteries before. You've never, this is before cable TV was having like 12 different ghost hunting shows an hour. You were like, what? I thought they were looking for a criminal. They're looking for a sprite? A poltergeist?
Who died? No. I mean, someone died, but not what you think.
No, bitch. Wake up from your coma already. It's a ghost investigation. You dunce. Go sit in the corner in your dunce cap.
So, despite the fact that he has... Oh, wait.
For some reason, Mac and I have a running joke about dunce caps.
Okay.
And it's just because it's so cruel, and I don't know who thought if a child got something wrong that the way to teach them was to put a big cone hat on their head and make them go sit in the corner.
It's I'm a dummy on it with an arrow.
Yeah, who thought that was gonna help anyone? What? But anyway, sometimes one of us does something wrong, and it's when we go sit in the corner, you dunce.
I feel like everyone gets to that point in their long-term relationship where you have those types of jokes. You fucking idiot.
But it's so funny to me.
So, a man with a very voluminous mullet by the name of Christopher Chacon,
he loves that mullet. He puts fine Moroccan hair oils in that mullet. He takes good care of her.
There is product. That is some shiny hair, and it is.
His hair is great.
It's a lot of volume. Yeah.
He's do you think he's reusing that horse shampoo? Samantha, is that true? Tell me, is it true that it's a beauty secret to use horse shampoo on a human to have great hair?
There's a very specific brand of horse shampoo called Mane and Tail, and it is a nice shampoo. I do not believe that it makes your hair grow faster, which is what a lot of people claim, but
okay.
It honestly is a nice shampoo, and you can buy it at Target because so many people use it for their own hair now.
Would it make my hair super shiny?
I mean,
you're no, probably not.
I was a teenager the last time I used it. It probably would make it shiny. I don't know that would make it any shinier than any other shampoo you buy,
Okay.
but it's nice, and also it's cheap and comes in a gigantic jug because it's for horses. So if that's a selling point to you,
Oh. I can't believe I've waited this long in our friendship to ask you this important question.
yeah. Actually, I can't. How dare you? One thing I know anything about horse shampoo.
I putting my Dunce cap on now. Don't worry.
Um. So the Chiron calls this guy a quote scientific investigator, which Travis laughed so hard at. Not only is he an investigator, don't worry, he's a scientific investigator.
Yeah. He's investigating how to have the world's most beautiful mullet.
I mean, it seems like he's already discovered the secret to that one. So now he's looking for ghosts. So he tells us that what we appear to have here is a classic haunt. Classic.
Mm-hmm.
He has come to this conclusion due to a variety of different types of witnesses, which seems less than scientific, but all right, Christopher. That's his reasoning for why it's a classic haunt. So,
how can you question someone with hair like that, Samantha?
Yeah, you're so right.
Just not in agreement.
You're so right.
Yes.
He assures us that his team is trying to approach it unbiasedly. In a scientific manner.
I mean,
more about that later.
I do. Okay, go ahead then.
Well, okay, we'll get to it, but actually, the way they end up doing it, I think, is pretty sciencey.
I would say it's more scientific than other investigations of this type we've seen.
Oh, like Zach Bagans just screaming?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, just go and scratch me, bro. Come at me, bro. No, I appreciate that they look at it from different angles. Like they do have kind of the paranormal home investigator angle where they're looking at the vents. Yeah. They're looking at like whether the floor is level, stuff like that. They have I don't remember if he was like a psychologist or what, but they had someone talk to witnesses to see basically like how sound are these people? Should we be trusting them? You know, yeah. Is this a manifestation of a different problem? Right. I did think they were looking at it from several angles. They clearly wanted to be a ghost, but they were definitely open to the possibility that it wasn't a ghost.
You're right. They strike me as true believers, but also they are a little bit like those ladies that put on the ghost hunting class we went to.
Yeah.
Where they realize that it's important to debunk paranormal situations that are actually caused by earthly events, because that makes the ones you can't explain like all the more stronger. Basically. Yeah. So if it's like a fly on a lens of your home security camera, like we gotta, unfortunately, it would be more fun if it was a ghost, but unfortunately we have to stick to a scientific method. So I appreciate that as well. And they go through the history of this haunting, and then they get to the investigation a little bit later. We'll talk more about it. So Robert Stack tells us that if Christopher and his team of real-life Ghostbusters do encounter a spirit, she probably answers to the name Julia Staub. And he says that folks around here say that Julia has been haunting the place for nearly a century.
It's a long time.
Yeah. So Julia came to Santa Fe from Germany around 1870 to marry a man named Abraham Staub. He was one of the wealthiest men in New Mexico. And he told Julia that he would one day build her the finest house money could buy.
And she was like, all right, I'll leave Germany for that.
I guess. And have 7 children.
Oh!
Over the course of 14 years.
She deserved that house.
No kidding. So they moved into the Santa Fe's first Victorian mansion with their 7 children 14 years after they married. A woman named Betsy Solit, who is, according to Unsolved Mysteries, a local folklorist, tells us that Julia became the queen of Santa Fe society. All major affairs were held at the mansion, and they entertained dignitaries from the government, including President Hayes and General Sherman. They had big parties at the mansion, and Julia, by all accounts, was very happy. That was until Julia and Abraham had their 8th child, who sadly died just a few days after her birth.
No.
This, according to Betsy Solit, the folklorist, is when her happiness turned to sorrow. And it seems like the rest of the story is a bit of a legend. I don't know how much of this is actually, can be proven, but it was said that Julia didn't eat or sleep for 2 weeks after the death of her daughter. According to the story, when she finally did sleep, she awoke to find that her beautiful black hair had turned completely white. It was said that all of her grief went into her hair, which is rude of grief.
This is a very hair-focused episode so far.
Yeah, sad. So the legend goes that after the death of her 8th child, she withdrew from society and was rarely seen outside the walls of the mansion. When she died at age 52, she seemed far older. And then, fast forward to 1936, the Staub Mansion was acquired by La Posada, and a modern hotel was built around it.
That's so odd.
It's very strange. However, much of the interior of the mansion is still intact, and the upstairs rooms, including Julia's bedroom, can be rented by guests. Over the years, according to Robert Stack, Julia has had a way of making her presence known. So we meet a security guard by the name of Chuck, and he is a believer. He says that too many guests over the years have had experiences, including guests who had no prior knowledge of the hotel's haunted history.
Wait, is this John, the security guard?
Nope, John comes later.
Oh, okay.
John is Chuck's son. He has an experience that drives him to like leave and never come back, I guess. So Chuck isn't sure if it's a ghost or some sort of residual energy, but he does believe that something is going on at the La Posada Hotel. And he had an experience with a ghost in 1991 when he was taking some guests on an impromptu tour of the hotel. Julia's room was not occupied, but they wanted to go in and look at it. And hotel policy required them to knock, even though there was no one staying in the room. Upon knocking on the door, a woman's voice from the other side called out, "I'm in here."
I have a rational explanation to this.
Okay. Oh, I'm dying to hear it because this sounds very spooky.
Okay, so they knock on the door. This woman says, "I'm in here." They go to the desk to check if the room is really not occupied. There's no one in it. And
do you think they just have thin walls and it was someone in an adjacent room who thought they were knocking on her door?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's an old house. They knocked on the door. It's just someone in the next room over. She thought it was her door.
And maybe that explanation seems really likely and not spooky at all.
She was probably like in a different part of the room or something, that when they knocked later and didn't hear it, she no longer thought that was her room. Maybe she was in the bathroom or something.
Yeah.
That's my explanation, because that's definitely happened to me at a hotel, that someone has knocked on the door next door and I thought that was my door.
Yeah, you're right.
Also, you're like
common occurrence.
You're also like less familiar with the space and how it sounds because you don't live there.
Right. And maybe you didn't respond the second time because you realized what you did and you're embarrassed and you keep your
right. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't suddenly go, "Oh, I'm actually in the next room," and yeah, you're not gonna like try to explain yourself. That would just be weird.
No, yeah. I mean, they thought it was the ghost of Julia, but clearly, I think it probably wasn't.
I feel like just saying "I'm in here" is what you would say if you thought that was your door, and it also just doesn't sound like an old-timey ghost.
Not really. No, I'm in here. No,
I'm in here. What does the ghost care? No.
They could just disappear. Yeah, you're right.
I'm a ghost and I'm ghost changing. Don't come in. No. I'm ghost showering. No.
Yeah, you're right. So we get another encounter. This is from Chuck's son, John, who also worked at the hotel as a security guard. He says that he was checking the men's bathroom one night around closing time when he saw a face reflected back at him in the mirror.
Okay, this special effects on this,
they're not good.
No, what are you talking about? They're amazing. They're the best special effects I've ever seen. The ghost is so blue. Why?
I think because it's supposed to be dark, maybe? Because it was nighttime and it's very blue. It's quite funny.
This ghost might as well have been straight up Casper. Like, it's not scary. It's clearly, I mean, obviously the special effects weren't great, whatever. It's 90s TV, but it's like a cartoon ghost.
In a mirror. It's also like, I don't know, like, not quite lined up right with the mirror, like the overlay. It's like the wrong angle for the mirror on the. It's very strange.
Very bad.
So, however, in real life, when John saw this, he was so scared that he fucking ran out of that place. He didn't lock anything up. He didn't finish his job. He was out and he never came back.
That's actually a pretty impressive testament.
I mean, it was clearly very real to him and very scary. So
Because I have been at a work at night at a place that I had to lock up and was so sick that I ended up throwing up in a drinking fountain.
oh god.
And I had food poisoning or something. I just like suddenly got violently ill. But then I was like, well, I still have to like, I gotta
Close up.
stay here and close up. Right.
Yes.
I wasn't like, nope, gotta go. I'll just leave this place unlocked. Who cares what happens?
I don't know if he actually like literally quit, like, but he made it sound like he left and never came back. Like,
That was the impression I got, yeah.
goodbye to this job, it is not worth it. Which you know you're working in a haunted hotel, and then the first time you see the ghost, you're like, peace out forever.
Well, I mean, maybe he didn't really believe in ghosts, or he didn't think it would be that scary.
Yeah, maybe he didn't realize he would see a blue reflection of Jasper.
And he was like, I didn't sign up for this. I can't handle that.
So we get one more story, one more eyewitness, and this was two guests who stayed in the hotel. Their names were Ross Weisenhofer and Holly Knorr. They had traveled to Santa Fe to attend their friend's wedding. Ross and Holly had never heard of the hotel's ghost stories, and they were staying in the room across the hall from Julia's bedroom.
Okay, even if you've never heard of the hotel's ghost stories, this is an old mansion that a hotel was like built around.
You know,
You're gonna
I would assume that kind of a place would be haunted, but maybe Ross Weisenhofer and Holly Knorr were not as paranormally minded. I don't know.
That's true.
It's hard to believe that not everybody out there is like, I wonder if this place is fucking haunted.
But that's not their first question, which
I
was
guess not.
me checking into a hotel in New Orleans. So, yeah, my room. Is this place haunted? Me meeting
exactly.
someone. Oh, hi, my name's Liz. So do you believe in ghosts? Yeah.
It's an icebreaker. So they were getting ready to go to bed. They shut off the TV, and Ross says that he was laying there with his eyes closed, trying to fall asleep, when he felt someone staring at him.
I hate it.
He sat up, and at the foot of his bed was a ghostly white apparition. Naturally freaked out, he laid back down, but then he sat up again for another look. At this point, he says that the apparition became more defined and looked more like a person. He did this a third time, and when he looked up again, it was definitely, according to him, Julia standing there.
Like, the reenactment, I guess the second time he looks up, it's just like a floating white pirate shirt.
It doesn't look like the third time it materializes into like a Victorian gown or something, but yeah, I don't really know how we got from the white button-up shirt to Julia's nightgown.
She's like, oh no, I'm being haunted by a shirt. There was some Dr. Seuss book, I think his Haunted Pants or something, or like Pants Walking in the Night. And I was so scared of it as a little kid. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
I don't know that I ever read that one. That sounds like what is the cryptid?
It is.
It's just the
white
legs.
Nightcrawler.
Yes, which is
It's
freaky.
It's a precursor to the Nightcrawlers. It's not even like a whole book. It's like a story in a Dr. Seuss book. It's about these like pants that go walking on their own or something. And I was like,
oh, that does sound vaguely familiar. And
I was like,
creepy as hell
oh
if
my god, no! I
Haunted
was like,
pants.
was so scared to even like look at the page in a weird way. I don't know. Any of those Dr. Seuss illustrations that take place like in the dark, where the whole page is like super like purple or whatever, I was always like, this is freaky as hell. I don't know. I was such a little wuss, yeah.
So he was obviously freaked out when he looked up and saw an actual woman standing at the foot of his bed. He turned the light on. She disappeared. He jumped out of bed, woke up Holly, and declared that they were leaving right then and there. And I think they packed their shit and left in like the middle of the night.
That's amazing. It's amazing to have that like much determination.
Yeah, I mean, sounds scary. I don't know that I would like.
I would be too tired. I would be way too tired. I'd be like, yeah. We'll leave in the morning.
maybe you could get a different room. I don't know. Ask the concierge if they have a room that's not haunted. I don't know.
You drive on down to the Motel 6. I'll be right here, hon.
So 2 weeks later, Ross and Holly agreed to return to the hotel and talk to Christopher, who Robert Stack now says is from the, quote, Office of Scientific Investigation and Research.
That sounds so made up.
Well, it sounds like it should be associated with like a government entity, but we're
But it
actually
also
told.
sounds. But it also sounds fake.
Well, that's why I think they don't tell us like what. Okay, so it's the Office of Scientific Investigation and Research of what, like, of a university. We don't get that because I think they just made it up to sound scientific. But
Sure.
so Christopher's team, which we kind of touched on this earlier, it included a psychologist, a doctor, and an electrical engineer. They interviewed the couple about their experience. Christopher tells us that 70% of their investigations reveal rational earthly explanations for ghostly phenomenon. So that's the debunking we talked about. But there is 30% for which they cannot find a cause. So for some reason, Ross is subjected to a Rorschach test and a physical examination. Apparently they pass, so they're reliable witnesses, I guess, according to the psychologist. Christopher tells us that one time they discovered a brain tumor in a woman who was experiencing a paranormal encounter, and the brain tumor was causing her to hallucinate.
Yeah, what a nightmare.
Yikes! Yeah, first of all, a nightmare. I mean, I guess it's a good thing that she called them and they found the tumor. I hope
she's okay. What? I don't think they caught it early if it's causing hallucinations where she thinks she's being haunted. But also,
probably not. Yeah.
Great healthcare in this country where the way we find brain tumors is paranormal investigation.
Excellent. The best.
It's the best in the world.
So they next examine the room for signs of toxic paint or chemicals in the carpet that could possibly cause hallucinations. Or
I like how thorough this is.
It's very thorough.
I wish Brian from Paranormal Home Inspectors was there with his list, checking stuff.
This would touch Brian's heart. He would be so happy with this.
He would be so cross proud. That off the list.
So, having not found anything in the environment or the bodies of the witnesses, they set up their high-tech equipment.
Good news, we don't think you have a brain tumor. This might actually be ghosts.
Good news. So they set up their high-tech equipment to do what Christopher calls a long-term surveillance, or what ghost adventurers would call a night investigation.
Okay, the shot of their equipment, which is so
that's worth $500,000 apparently.
Okay, children. I don't know who the youngest person that listens to this podcast is, but
Arden.
Okay, Arden, I want you to take a look at this equipment and imagine that costs it looks like just a shelf at the Goodwill at this point. Like, the idea of that electronic equipment being worth $500,000 will explode someone's mind. Not really mine, but maybe a younger person.
It was very funny. Very funny.
Yeah.
So they've got all the usual stuff. They've got electro and geomagnetic field detectors, infrared light cameras.
It's all stuff your phone could do now.
I mean, basically. Robert Stack calls it state-of-the-art monitoring equipment.
I'm sure. I don't know where they're getting the money for all this stuff.
It's the Office of Scientific Investigation, Liz.
He's getting, I don't know. That guy's a mullet model. He's putting all his modeling money into ghost investigation.
He might be. So, the results of their investigation of the La Posada Hotel did not reveal any earthly explanations. They also didn't catch a ghost on camera. So Christopher very diplomatically says that they found no proof that the hotel is not haunted.
Yeah, they can't.
They also found no proof that it is, but this is, I mean, I guess this is going to be one of those 30% where they didn't find any stachybotrys in the ducts that could be causing hallucinations. So it could be a ghost. And Robert Stack leaves us with some advice. If you ever stay at the La Posada Hotel, be sure to leave a single red rose on the windowsill because it was Julia's favorite flower.
Is that going to keep her from murdering you? I don't know. What is that?
I'm not really sure.
It's
just an offering. Just a nice thing to do. You're in her house. I mean, come on.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Be a good guest. Maybe bring a bottle of wine, bring a flower. Yeah. I'm trying to imagine, say you own a hotel, you think there's a ghost, you call in some sort of paranormal investigative team, and they have to sit you down and be like, so you have black mold.
It's going to cost $3 million for mitigation.
You're
Sorry.
gonna have to declare bankruptcy, actually. Not only do you I don't know if you have a ghost, but I do know that you're now bankrupt.
Be like, I'll give you $1 million to speak of this never again, and this is a haunted hotel.
Yeah, exactly. There was a mustache on this on the security guard John, and it was very divided into two parts on his lip. So it's called the two-parter.
Not MVM though. We got a different mustache coming up.
It's pretty boring. You can tell by the name. It's not a great mustache.
Yeah.
It's just a standard whatever mustache.
Step up your game, folks. This is season 7.
We need more and more outrageous mustaches as time goes on. Okay, I have a wanted now. So this goes back to March 7th, 1988 in San Juan, where we see flames consuming a late model car in a remote corner of the city. I have to imagine these reenactments where they get to burn cars were probably pretty fun.
Oh, the funnest. That was the best day. Blow shit up, set something on fire.
Obviously, they don't have footage of this car burning in a remote corner of the city, so they're like, okay, now we gotta... No, it just makes me think of that time they blew up that church and they blew it up way too much. Remember that? And there was like shrapnel flying everywhere. That's a miracle no one died. Okay. Unsolved Mysteries, you're amazing. So the following morning, local police found the charred remains of a body in the vehicle that was burned beyond recognition. The only clue was a piece of jawbone that remained and 4 unattached teeth. 1 week later, an informant told police that the body belonged to John Rubis. The police were already familiar with that name because he was the ringleader of a multi-million-dollar drug ring. He apparently practically had a monopoly on cocaine and marijuana distribution in the Midwest at the time. So if you were smoking up in the Midwest in 88, you're probably slightly connected to John Rubis and should listen to this story. They got John's dental records from a dentist in Florida and compared them to the remains in the car, and they were determined to be a match. Do we have a cop mustache here? I called it "Hey There, Blondie." It's just a blonde mustache. I don't know. Whatever. Look. The mustaches speak to me. They tell me what they want to be called. That was it. Look, I'm just a messenger. Okay. But the mystery in this segment is John really dead? Or is this a cunning hoax that he faked his own death to avoid prosecution? So Unsolved Mysteries obtained an exclusive interview with one of his cohorts who claims he is very much alive. I don't know what you call like other people in your drug smuggling ring. Are those your coworkers?
A colleague?
One of his colleagues is speaking to us in shadow. You just see like the outline. I don't think they distorted his voice. He doesn't seem very worried that John is going to get him, I'll say.
Yeah.
Okay. And that person we're calling Richard. So we learn about John's large, highly professional drug operation that used a fleet of small planes to move product from secret plantations in Jamaica, Panama, and Colombia to Puerto Rico for processing and packaging, where they were there sent to the U.S. through Chicago and Milwaukee. Between 81 and 85, it is estimated he shipped through $30 million worth of drugs. Which at that point I was like, that doesn't really seem like that much. For this whole operation.
Not. I mean, it's a big operation.
He's buying planes. He's got like whole farms.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, Rubis, unlike many top drug lords, liked to be involved to keep things running smoothly, and he ran a very tight ship. So we hear Richard in shadow telling us that John was one of the craftiest guys he ever met in his life. And then a cop tells us that John was ruthless and gained respect through fear, which is apparently typical in the drug trade. I know that you would have never figured that out if a cop had to come on TV to tell you that guess what?
Wait, I thought they gave each other cute little notes.
That would be amazing. They
and chocolates,
cootie catchers, friendship bracelets. They ruled with an iron fist of friendship bracelets and light bullying. So one example, we have a reenactment of he is suspected a pilot of running his own operation using one of the planes because it was taking him twice as long to move things, and he was also using twice as much fuel.
Maybe he was just lazy.
So we have a reenactment of John threatening to shoot him. And I was like, but he didn't even kill him?
Doesn't seem like an iron fist to me.
He's no Scarface. Okay. So that I wrote down not really impressive. But anyway.
You wanted him to shoot him in the fucking face.
I guess. I don't know. You're telling me what a ruthless drug lord he is, and then it's like, well, he thought this guy was stealing from him, so he threatened to kill him. And I was like, yeah, and
I mean, it's
like,
kind of true.
That's kind of nothing, right? Well, whatever. He ran such a tight operation, it took law enforcement a long time to figure out what he was up to and how. But by December 1987, there was enough evidence to charge 37 members of the operation with criminal charges. However, John himself could not be found. When his remains were discovered in Puerto Rico, the charges were dropped. And local law enforcement discovered a vendetta that could have led to the murder. A former associate, Donald Kurtzer, was convicted of being behind the hit. Not that he killed him himself, but he ordered him to be killed. And the motive for that was revenge for John, I guess allegedly raping Kurtz's girlfriend and the 14-year-old daughter of Kurtz's housekeeper. I don't know if that's substantiated or not. Anyway. The official story is that on the night of his death, John Rubus arrived at the airport in San Juan, where he was met by two lovely ladies. And although he was not known to be much of a drinker, Rubus was said to be heavily intoxicated at the time. The women told him that they had an errand to run and drove him to the outskirts of town, where they got out of the car. Once there, two men appeared to coat the car in gasoline and light it on fire with John inside. However, a couple months later, the Richard, supposedly mysterious interviewee, got a call from John. He says he has no doubt that it was him, that he recognized his voice, that they knew each other well, whatever. And cops say they have heard the same thing from a few sources. But their main evidence seems to be like, look, he was too smart to get trapped.
Okay.
We have total faith in this guy. He was so good at making drugs. And that he was not known to travel alone or unarmed, so people thought that maybe he staged his own death. One of the quotables from this episode I thought was Richard describing John as a, quote, very mystique kind of guy. Mm-hmm. Which just makes him sound like an X-Men, but...
A little bit. Mystique. That's not really how you use the word mystique.
But... No, that's okay. He means mysterious, but whatever. Very mystique kind of guy. At this point, did you think John had faked his own death?
Not really.
Okay. Well, the update is that they eventually were able to get DNA from that jaw fragment that was found in the car, and that was his. So, yeah. Some people seem to still think he's alive, but that's unlikely. At one point, they were speculating that he pulled out 4 of his own teeth to fake his own death, and I was like, maybe. But at what point when you find out, no, that really is his jawbone, it's like, all right, well, he's dead.
He's dead.
He rapes this guy's girlfriend, and then that guy got the jump on him, and he's not perhaps the greatest. What's so funny about this and so many of these stories are the cops are like, we weren't able to catch him, therefore he's a genius mastermind. And you're like, no, actually, maybe you're just not that great at your job. Yeah. You couldn't catch a guy literally flying planes full of drugs around.
Yep. Well, I suspect there might be some corruption there too, but
what?
I know you're shocked.
Oh,
the revelation of the century, but
no. You think someone was on? Oh, you think they were on the take?
I would never suggest such a thing.
Samantha.
It's pure speculation.
Okay, well, that's the story of John Rubus, and it seems like he really is dead, even though. Also, okay, the reason I was like, this guy is dead is because this guy, Richard, even though he was in shout, he did not seem worried about John coming to find him.
No, he didn't.
It was, if you knew who that guy was, it would be very clear it was him. The outline of his body, his voice, the things he was saying, you would just go, oh, that's so-and-so. And he was not worried that John was going to come get him in the night. So I was like, okay, so he's dead. You just wanted money from Unsolved Mysteries, and that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, you got a little trip. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Okay, you get a treasure.
My favorite. This is the Elysian Park treasure, alleged treasure. So,
there's never a treasure. There's never a treasure.
I mean, in this case, I'm afraid, spoiler alert, there probably isn't. So I love how Robert Stack opens this treasure segment. This is what he says: Spanish doubloons, royal jewels, chests of gold. In our experience, there is nothing like an old legend of buried treasure to lure otherwise sensible people into the wilderness to risk their lives. While these tales may be rich in history and folklore, we've learned that they don't usually amount to much when it comes to actually finding anything of value.
Oh, look, he admitted it. He said it out loud.
I mean, we're 7 seasons into this, and you're at home in your kitchen watching this going, Robert Stack, have they ever found a treasure?
You have yet to show it. Well, I suppose it wouldn't be an unsolved mystery if they found a treasure.
Yeah, but there's never been an update saying, oh, by the way, they found the treasure we talked about in season 3.
And then it just cuts to a guy wearing like 5 crowns at once. In a solid gold car with a scepter. like, oh, he found those pigeon blood rubies. He's set for life. Yeah, somehow that never happened.
Yeah, so Robert Stack lets us know that, yeah, we know. But we're still going to talk about this because it's fun. So Elysian Park is a park and neighborhood located 2 miles from Los Angeles, California.
Sorry, I just keep picturing the updated guy wearing 5 crowns.
I think that needs to be a future coloring sheet.
Absolutely.
The guy who found the treasure.
Update.
He needs to have a little metal detector sitting next to him.
Yeah, you're so right.
Fabulous. so yes, Elysian Park is located near Los Angeles, California. And guess what? We're doing another high-tech investigation. Unsolved Mysteries has brought a team of historical researchers to the park to try and follow up on age-old rumors of buried treasure hidden somewhere in the park.
Oh, technology these days. What can't it do? Not find treasure, I guess.
Look, maybe there's treasure, Liz.
No.
Robert Stack says that incredibly, the sensitive instruments reveal that the hidden treasure of Elysian Park may in fact be real. We'll get to that later. About 150 years ago, the Spanish-American War had erupted, and wealthy residents of Los Angeles were worried about their riches. According to legend, as American forces drew near, wealthy residents panicked. Some dug elaborate escape tunnels, and others buried their family fortunes in the ground because there were no banks.
That's where I keep my Bitcoin, in the ground.
In the ground.
Outside of Los Angeles.
I printed out my NFTs. And
your monkey NFTs, and you put them in a jar and you buried it outside of Los Angeles. If anybody finds it, it's worth millions.
I assume that's how that works.
Yep. Might as well.
So, the park was a logical place to bury treasure because it was close to Los Angeles, and there are rumors that some families never came back for their riches.
Why? Why would they not do that?
I don't know.
They were eaten by tigers.
Maybe. Many people believe that there is a fortune of gold and jewels hidden in several canyons and hills of Elysian Park outside Los Angeles. Recently, several treasure hunters have been trying to locate the treasure. In 1984, 2 sisters hired a man named Roy Roche to explore the park with his metal detector. Their father
couldn't get a metal detector themselves?
I don't know what skills Roy possessed that made him qualified for this. It seems like
he's
a
treasure
just a guy
hunter
with a metal detector. Maybe he has a CV. I don't know.
Okay.
But their father had searched for treasure when they were children. Searched for the treasure. And they found the place where they remembered their father spending a lot of time searching. And Roy believes that it's the perfect place to bury treasure because you can dig without being seen, Liz.
Okay, but they remembered the place where their dad didn't find treasure, and then they're like, let's go here and not find treasure also.
He didn't have a metal detector, Liz. He didn't look hard enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want to keep the family tradition alive of not finding treasure.
So Roy, they began searching in this area, and he found holes carved. Get this, holes carved into the side of a sandstone bluff.
Well, kids
sandstone
never do that.
Notoriously not porous and not easy to erode away. He thinks
also
that
kids never just like poke stuff with sticks or carve their names in things or
that never happens.
Whatever.
So he believes that it may be man-made symbols. He also found initials carved into a rock nearby.
Yeah, you know what it was? It was a heart, and it said Robert Stack plus Elizabeth Taylor plus JFK with a heart with an arrow through it.
All rich people. Case closed.
Oh,
So,
you're so right.
and then he finds the entrance to what he is certain was a tunnel and declares, obviously, it was a treasure shaft. There's no other reason for a hole being there.
Which I just texted you that completely out of context. Obviously, it was a treasure shaft. I don't know. It just sounds dirty. I don't know. It's both silly and the word shaft comes up so much on this show.
So much. Now we have a treasure shaft.
It wasn't enough to have a shaft alley and something else.
Oh my god. Obviously it was a treasure shaft. There's no other reason why there would be a hole in the woods. No other reason. It was obviously a treasure shaft. So this is where Robert Stack gives us away one of my favorite Robert Stack quotes of all time. He comes in with his voiceover and says, "It seemed simple. Remove dirt, claim treasure."
Yeah, well, that is how digging up a treasure would go, I guess.
It seemed simple. So Roy insisted that they dig at night to, quote, avoid attracting rivals. I'm pretty sure they dug at night because they did not have permission to dig a 30-foot hole in a public park, but...
Yeah. At the end is like, you know what's even harder than finding a treasure? Getting a digging permit in Los Angeles. So I'm kind of guessing, yeah, they weren't supposed to be digging.
No. Well, and I think so they find some anomalies later in their investigation, and I think a lot of people at home are probably like, well, why don't you just fucking dig up the treasure? And Robert Stack is like, well, you can't really get permission to dig in a public place in Los Angeles. And I'm guessing these people didn't have that permission. That's why they were out there in the middle of the night tunneling a hole under Elysian Park. So
well, also, it's not like they have a claim. It's just where their dad looked. It's not like where their family buried. It's not something that's theirs.
We come back to this a lot when it comes to treasure. It's not like they have any right to it.
No.
Just because they found it. It belongs to a family who buried it there anyway. So they get 25 feet underground, and in the center of their giant hole, their metal detector starts to beep. Liz, do you think they found a buried treasure?
I think they found the true treasure, which is old flashlight batteries.
Liz, they were the oldest batteries he had ever seen. It's a treasure in a way. So despite being 25 feet underground and they find these flashlight batteries and their metal detector ceases its beeping, they decide to keep digging. They get 30 feet and they find some old rope.
Wow.
And the conclusion was obvious, according to this dude. Someone beat them to the treasure.
Yeah, but like decades ago, too.
Yeah.
Not like a couple days or something.
If there was something under here and someone else had found it, I think there was nothing under there. Maybe some other person was digging for treasure and left their flashlight batteries in an old rope.
Or the family that buried something came back and got it like they meant to. Yeah. And that's why that hole was there. And I don't know, that was supplies of getting it back.
I'll have you know that Roy thinks there's still buried treasure in the park totaling $1 million.
Where did he get that number?
His butt.
Roy. Roy. I
don't know.
I need you to show your work. Okay, break down that $1 million for me. What is that based on?
It's like 1 million is always the number that like everyone comes. It's like a kid when they can like think of the biggest amount of money that you could ever think of, and it's always $1 billion. That's what this sounds like to me.
I have a certain cap that I need Roy to wear, and a certain area of the classroom that I need him to stand in and think about what he's done, because he just made that up.
He found a treasure shaft. It's just that someone got there first.
Look, if that's his claim to fame and that's making him happy, I guess fine.
That's on his website. Found a treasure shaft.
That's all good. It's gonna be on his grave.
So now we get to Unsolved Mysteries bringing in their team of investigators. So in June 1984, they brought a team of researchers and treasure hunters to search for the treasure. Sensitive instruments, which seems to be ground-penetrating radar, they scanned the park grounds. Robert Stack tells us they did have permission to do this, so don't worry.
I was gonna call Los Angeles County and make a complaint, but
so they found some anomalies that they show. Honestly,
things in the ground. He's like, these are open to interpretation. And I was like, so you're telling me those are rocks?
I can't necessarily read ground penetrating radar, but I don't really see how you could decide that what they found was man-made. Apparently they brought in some other instrument and one of the anomalies is metallic, so it could be a treasure chest full of gold.
It could be an old car battery. It could be part of a refrigerator. It could be anything. It could be just junk. It could be someone was like, I don't want to pay to take this to the dump. I'm going to bury it in the park.
Well, we'll never know because, like Liz said, Robert Stack leaves us with this. Obtaining a permit to dig in Los Angeles is almost as difficult as finding buried treasure. And digging without a permit is strictly against the law.
Wow.
And then someone from the Park Service tells us that they hope the treasure is still in there and they'll never give anyone permission to dig it up because it
that was Manuel. He had a mustache. And his mustache is called the real treasure.
It is the real treasure.
It was just kind of a standard mustache, but it's called the real treasure. Because he's like, no, it just adds to the park. It adds to the vibes at the park. Where people are like, ooh, maybe there's treasure here.
Tourist attraction, yeah. So if there is a treasure under there, it seems like Los Angeles isn't going to let you dig it up. So,
hey, baby, you want to go make out at the park? There might be treasure there. Just like park vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guess who gets the lost love in this episode?
So I'm envious.
It's me. Is it because the dude in this lost love is extra hot?
He is so hot.
He's real fine.
That was what I texted Liz when I was watching this. I was like, damn, the soldier in your mystery is a hottie.
You're like, no wonder people want to find him.
I want to find him.
Yeah, where are you at? Okay. So, this story comes to us originally from a viewer letter who wrote in regarding someone living in Germany looking for someone in the U.S. and they thought that Unsolved Mysteries could help. So, Robert Stack wants us to know that Unsolved Mysteries went to Europe. They spent all their budget doing that. This is the story of that for more than a decade, Siegfried and Marguerite Lair have been searching for an unsung American hero who forged an unlikely bond with Siegfried when he was just a small boy. Back in 1945, in the final days of World War II, Siegfried's neighborhood was leveled by bombs. So his mom had to flee with him and her two other youngest children. I'm not sure what happened to everybody. It's probably tragic. They had to walk 125 miles to take refuge with relatives, and times were very hard. When he was four when the war ended and food was extremely scarce. But then American troops arrived to provide food and medical supplies to civilians. One of the soldiers was a young man named Alexander. He originally met Siegfried when he was passing out supplies from a truck, and he convinced Siegfried to take a chocolate bar. Siegfried described him as sympathetic and friendly, and even as his guardian angel. He speculates that he might not even be alive today without Alexander. I don't know if that's literally if he hadn't given us food, or if it's he gave me hope, but
yeah,
it's kind of both, I guess. He took it upon himself to track Siegfried down and bring his family a large pot of soup, which we see this cute reenactment of him showing up at the house and the mom being concerned that the soldier is at her house, and then he's like, no, soup. He's right, there's a language barrier. He's trying to explain that he's just bringing them food.
Yeah.
Because yes, that would be terrifying. You're like, oh no, don't bomb me. And he's like, no, this is for soup. He seemed to take a special interest in the Lair family, and thanks to they no longer suffered from food shortages. He would actually bring them the same food that soldiers were eating in the army barracks. And he would even take Siegfried to and from kindergarten. That I found a little odd, but we're just going to keep going. And Siegfried would join him in his Jeep for patrols around town.
He would let him drive the Jeep?
Yeah!
I'm not sure if the army knew about that, but it seems fun if you're a kid.
I guess no. That Alexander had to just drive around town, make sure everything was peaceful, and so Siegfried would go with him, and then at some point it's steering the Jeep. Look, it was a different time for sure. And yes, the guy who plays Alexander in the reenactments is extremely fine. So definitely check this out. Unfortunately, the day eventually came that Alexander had to say goodbye, and we get a reenactment of that, of him trying to like explain to Siegfried, look, I'm not going to see you for a really long time, and I want you to be a good boy and stuff like that. Siegfried has taken this message of human love and kindness and tried to pay it forward in his life, and he sees it as this like real, touchstone moment that made him the person that he is. He only has one photograph of them taken together, which I think is kind of amazing he has a photograph at all.
Yeah.
Considering this person is not his family and they're in these sort of dire circumstances, and photography is like would be a luxury, I assume. It was taken in 1945 when Alexander would have been approximately 20 years old. What's weird about this is there's no update. And they literally have a photo of him. They didn't know Alexander's last name, but they did know like what squadron he was in and like where he stayed in Germany. They knew like a lot of information, and you would think there's so many people that research World War II. You would think they would be able to track this guy down. But I looked on both the Unsolved Mysteries wiki and at unsolved.com, and people on unsolved.com are like, please, is there an update to this? And Unsolved Mysteries has to be like, not at this time. Like, I'm so
see, everyone wants an update to A Lost Love. Do not waste my time if you don't have a tearful reunion.
Yeah, it's strange to me that no one in this guy's family like saw the episode and eventually figured out, oh, that's Alexander. But I'm glad it had such a positive impact on Siegfried. I'm not really sure why Alexander was like taking him to school and stuff, but maybe he just like really didn't have anything to do. I don't know.
I guess
it's a touching odds. There's something there. Someone should look into it more for sure. But that is the end of the episode.
All right.
Let's rate it.
Okay, so we've got our categories, the first of which is reenactments. Or mysteriousness.
Okay. I don't think it's that mysterious.
Not really.
I don't think there's a treasure. I'm not sure there's a ghost. I don't know what happened to Alexander. I assume he went on to just continue being extremely good looking. What else? I think John is dead.
Yeah, at no point I think did either of us think that he wasn't dead. So this is not a very mysterious episode, and I'm going to give it a thumbs down.
It would be weird if he was alive, but like never rebuilt his drug empire, and he was just like, and that's the end of a life of crime for me. I don't know. And also they literally found his jawbone. So I'm gonna say not mysterious, thumbs down.
No. Okay, now reenactments.
Okay, that ghost is so silly though.
It's really silly. The floating shirt.
But Alexander is kind of good looking.
Okay,
so...
we might need to give it a thumbs up just for that. Also, the drug kingpin reenactments.
Yeah, they're pretty. Look, Unsolved Mysteries went to Europe. Let's give them a thumbs up.
Yeah, you're right. They earned it. You're right.
They earned it.
Fashion.
Kind of unremarkable.
Okay, but the fashion on the drug kingpins, though.
Okay, that's true.
We get tight pants and that shirt.
I'm sure
there was some chest hair. That shirt was unbuttoned.
I'm sure everybody has seen that photo of Jeff Bezos on New Year's Eve,
where he's divorced dad vibe.
Yeah,
photo.
if you're into that kind of like Pitbull kind of fashion, like very Miami, then you should watch this episode for some fashion tips. Jeff Bezos, are you listening? Because you're gonna be into this. You're not allowed to listen. No free content for you. So actually, you're so right about that.
Yeah, I think it was decent. Did it carry the episode? I don't know, but it stood out to me.
I was gonna say the mustaches aren't good, but actually, drug kingpin John has an amazing mustache.
Did you name his mustache? Because that mustache was something.
I was going to, but then there was the rape part. I decided he fell under dirtbag, and I didn't name him. But it is an impressive mustache, though.
It looks a little glued on. It's one of the two caterpillars kissing. It's that type of mustache.
But it is huge.
Big old caterpillars.
It's like wings almost. It's giant. But anyway, I was debating. I mean, We have to kind of go like my name cop mustaches. Are those guys dirtbags? Probably.
Well, you
But we
can
have to,
name them, and he just still doesn't win MVM, right?
I
'Cause
don't
he's
know.
a dirtbag.
I don't even
He
know our
doesn't.
own rules. I thought I didn't name them at all then.
Oh, I don't know.
I
That's
don't know either.
Where's Jacqueline to do the? Have we ever named a mustache but not given it MVM? Has that ever happened?
I don't know. So
All right.
look,
Well,
it's there. But I think you're right with that. And you also get I don't know, if you're into dudes in uniform, then you're gonna want to give this fashion a thumbs up.
I'm into
You're into
Alexander.
Alexander. Yeah. I guess
Yes.
that actor, I don't really know anything about this show, The Arrow, but I guess that actor's on that. So both Samantha and I were like, well, guess I gotta watch The Arrow.
No, when I'm watching next.
Oh, all right. It's Stack. Actually,
Robert Stagg.
thumbs up.
He was on his A game this episode.
Memorable quotables, the sparkle in the eye. He clearly doesn't think there's a treasure. He clearly doesn't think there's a ghost. The way that he, with almost like no movement of the face, can tell you, I think this is bullshit, I think it's amazing.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's like the opposite of a poker face where it's just like, it's hard to call me on this, but I hate this. I really respect that.
I will never get over remove dirt, claim treasure. It's so good.
That has to be the name
I want
of
it on a shirt. It's so good.
That has to be the name of this episode. Remove
excellent.
dirt, claim treasure. So what would you rate this? Okay, obviously 5 Robert Stacks is the best. 0 Robert Stacks is Alcatraz. Where is this episode?
So I enjoyed this episode a lot,
think it's a
actually.
4,
I feel like
maybe.
it's a 4.
I think
Did we give last episode a 4 too?
Oh my
Season
God.
7 is starting out strong.
It is. Actually, we're on a roll. I can't believe I didn't get the New Mexico Ghost and you didn't get the Lost Love, but everybody's like, Liz, that's a weird podcasting problem. That has nothing to do with me watching the episode. Yeah, I think we're off to a very strong start.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Can we get Alec, the actor who plays Alexander, in more reenactments?
Yeah, that's my retroactive request. If I could go back in time.
Oh God, I can't remember the name of that other guy I was in love with. That like he couldn't be with his sweetheart. That was another army guy. I can't remember his name.
Some hot army guys for these lost loves.
They clearly have a like idea of who is in the army that I don't think is very accurate. That it's like models. You know who joins the army? Yeah, like an underwear model. Not sure that's really true. But okay, that brings us to the end of that.
That's it. It's a wrap.
All right, on the theme of lost loves, I have a recommendation.
Oh, okay.
Which is that the other day, I found out that there were episodes of the show Nathan For You that I had not seen, and I do not know how that happened because I love that show. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, Nathan For You is a show on Comedy Central where comedian Nathan Fielder would go to like help people with their businesses. And it's sort of like they're not really in on the joke. But he comes up with these like insanely complicated solutions. So like it's so ridiculous and amazing. Like there's one where he's at a gas station and he's like, oh, you can have the gas at this price, but they have to send in a rebate. But then the rebate is like, you have to turn it in on top of this hill. You have to like to get the rebate. So then he has all these people like go up the hill and they all like camp together. And then in the morning, he's like, guys, I have to admit, there's really like no rebate thing. And they're like, that's okay. This has been just such a great, it's wild. It's wild. Stuff like that. I've talked about the one with the ghost realtor before where he gets this woman to change her business to saying that she's giving ghost free houses and they like have an exorcist come in and all. They're so wild. He did some really amazing stuff. And I don't know how it is that I hadn't seen all of the last season, season 4. So last night, Mac and I watched the last episode of the last season, which is called Finding Frances. And usually this is like a half-hour show, but this episode is an hour and a half long.
Oh.
And what happened was that they once had this Bill Gates impersonator on the show,
Okay.
who also doesn't really look like Bill Gates. It's very funny. But anyway, that guy, just this old guy, like kept coming by the office for the show and like bringing them gifts or just like taking food. Basically, he was like a stray cat and like would never leave. And and, and in him like constantly stopping by the show, he kept mentioning that he wanted to find this woman Frances that was like his lost love. There was this woman he had known like 60 years earlier that he was like, yeah, I really should have married Frances, but but my mom didn't want me to marry her, and I wanted to go off to LA to become an actor, and like they broke up, right? And they never talked again.
Sure.
And so he's been pining over this woman for like 60 years. So Nathan decides he's going to put the resources of the show into finding this woman to try to like reconnect them. And it's clearly something that they like start off. They thought it would be like an episode of the show and it would be like kind of silly. And they do some like kind of silly things to try to find her. But at some point, it becomes like a very serious, like, we need to find this woman and like reconnect these lost souls. And it's like strangely incredibly sweet and like, I don't know, after, not to like make your expectations too high, but after we watched it, Mac went, well, that's better than most movies I've seen.
Wow.
And I was
it's the watch this now.
It's the ultimate lost love. Okay, and first of all, what they have to go on is her name, which is probably changed, right? Like they have her maiden name, and they and like the high school she went to.
Okay, do not tell me how it ends because I'm 100%. I love I love a lost love. I'm 100% watching this.
I've never
watched this show. I'm gonna go watch the last episode.
Okay, I would recommend maybe before watching the show, just watch maybe like a segment of a regular one, so you kind of get the tone of what it's usually like, so you can see it like devolve into this like more sincere thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe maybe I'll watch the last season,
or just watch the Ghost Realtor bit, and you'll be like, okay, I kind of get the like joke of the show, and then you can like more appreciate it. But they seriously have this woman's maiden name. They know what high school she went to, and that's it. He doesn't even have a photo of her.
Amazing.
And then they try to find her, and he does this sketch of her. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm dying just thinking about it. I don't know if I really feel like Nathan Fielder is a genius. I don't know if that's like a thing. I don't know if genius is like a real thing, but my respect. Oh my god. It's so good. You absolutely should watch it. I think you would really enjoy it.
It sounds wonderful. I love a lost love. There should be a
the
whole
ultimate
TV
lost
show
love
about like something like this, like reuniting people.
It's absolutely, I agree.
And you would have so many more resources than they did, in Unsolved Mysteries times, because you have the internet.
Yeah.
So where is that TV show?
And also just because, this is an older person and he only knew her maiden name and knew that she had gotten married at least once. Like, it wasn't just like he could go on Facebook and, she like all he knew was her name is Frances, essentially. So it's amazing.
It sounds amazing. That's a great recommendation.
And it's on Hulu and it's on HBO Max if you want to watch that. It's the last episode of the 4th season. So it's season 4, episode 7, Finding Frances.
Nice.
Okay, what's your recommendation?
So I have a TV recommendation as well. This is a show that's on now. I recently started watching Abbott Elementary on ABC.
Oh, yeah. I haven't watched it, but I've heard great things.
It's really good. So I've never been into like the workplace sitcom comedy. I've obviously seen plenty of episodes of The Office, but I would never became like a super fan. I was never into like Parks and Rec or those kinds of shows. But this is so good, and it's very much in line with like the format of The Office or those types of shows. So if you like that, you should definitely check it out because you'll really like it. So the premise of this workplace sitcom is that it's a underfunded inner city school in Philadelphia, and the characters in it are like first year teachers, veteran teachers, the principal, there's a substitute teacher. Everyone in this show is so good and so funny. The timing is just like so perfect. And it's, I don't know, if you're feeling kind of down because, the world, I feel like this is the type of show you should seek out. It's so good. I started watching it because we watch Supermarket Sweep on the ABC app, and they play commercials for like leading up. So it's the first season is out now, and like leading up to the first episode coming out, they were playing a lot of commercials, and the commercials made me laugh out loud. So I was like, okay, this show is obviously really good. And I saw a little bit of buzz on Twitter, but like I feel like it's not getting as much like buzz as like I think it deserves. I don't see a lot. There's like briefly some like discourse that like spilled over on Twitter from TikTok from like some TikTok teachers that were taking themselves a little seriously and criticizing the show for being like not realistic.
Oh my god.
It was it was very funny. And also like, so it's a primarily black cast, and a lot of people were rightly being like, this never happened with The Office. Like no one was ever like, oh, this is not realistic to an actual office, because it's a fucking sitcom. It's like, yeah, of course a real school is not funny. Like obviously the teachers are going to get their nails done at lunchtime because it's funny. No, that would not really happen in real life. That's not the point.
Are you telling me that most office work isn't just planning parties for the office? I'm shocked.
Shocking, I know.
Shocked.
So I worry a little bit that like it's not going to get as much buzz as it deserves, and it's going to get like fucking canceled after one season. So I'm imploring our listeners to go out and watch it.
Please!
I don't want it to be canceled. It's really good. There's like 4 or 5 episodes out. I'm kind of bummed I can't just like binge a whole season. Yeah, but I am watching it like as it comes out. And so you can watch on the ABC app for free. I recommend if you have Hulu, you watch it there though, because the ABC app like makes you wait like a really long time. I think this is how it is with Supermarket Sweep too. You can't watch like the last episode until like the next episode comes out, which ends up being like a week later. So you end up being like a week behind. It's not,
that's weird.
If you have Hulu, watch it on Hulu. But I really like it, and it's really funny. I do laugh out loud every episode.
I love the idea of using our 5 listeners to keep shows from getting canceled. That I think is a absolute great use of resources.
I wish I would have figured this out with Canada's Worst Handyman, but it was too late. That show, I was the only one that ever watched that show, and it's
Matt loved
forever.
it. Matt
okay, there was 2 people that liked that show, and now it's gone forever.
I do think that also there's something too like I feel like if you binge a show, it can be kind of forgettable sometimes, but if you have to wait each week to watch it and then you're like anticipating it,
I realize I do kind of miss that, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I do kind of miss, like, looking forward to something.
Yeah. No, I've been watching, it's not on right now, but I've been watching Riverdale each week as it airs, and then texting my friend Kristen, like, as we watch it to, make fun of it or whatever. And it's so enjoyable to actually
really
watch something each week instead of watch, like, 12 things in a night.
I know. There's a primordial part of my brain that wants to do that, but I recognize that it is more fun to like spread it out, and like you get more enjoyment because you're like each week you get to wait.
It's Riverdale night, and I'm like excited about it. Yeah. Well, that's great. Okay, now you have lots of TV to watch, everybody. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. So let's see. You should be like Deidre and give us a 5-star review. That is very important.
Yes.
We only accept 5-star reviews. You should buy a zine. PerhapsIt'sYou.com. Look under merch. It's got all the details. You should do us a solid. Subscribe.
Smash that subscribe button.
You should tell all your friends to subscribe as well. You should pick up your friends' phones when they're not looking and subscribe to this podcast, and then they won't know what it is. It'll just start playing. It's fine.
Turn on notifications so every time we have a new episode, they get...
Yeah. You should definitely leave reviews with other people's phones and possibly library computers. I don't really know if that works, but give it a try. What else?
Check us out on Patreon.
One
of these days, maybe I'll figure out how to change our Patreon URL because it is spelled wrong. But if you search on Patreon for Perhaps It's You, we will come up, and you can give us $1 and get some bonus content.
Our content for this month, I'm going to give us a pat on the back. I think it's great. We talked about the web series Dread the Unsolved, and it was so fun to talk about because there's so many different topics. So if you want to hear
it's a smorgasbord for sure.
If you want to hear us talk about everything from like creepy puppets to whether or not video games can kill you, you need to hear this Patreon episode. It is good. There's true crime, there's paranormal shit, there's like everything in one episode. It's really good.
Yeah. There's creepy viral videos that are probably fake, but we have fun talking
They're
about them
probably
anyway.
really fake. But if you give us even $1, you get more than 40 episodes, so it's quite a good deal. It's even a better deal than shopping at Marshall's, so think about that.
Good deal, so
think about that. And I think that's everything. So, if you have like a spooky story, or you've had a prophetic dream, or I don't know, you went to prom with Robert Stack, something like that, give us, shoot us an email. That's perhaps2podcast@gmail.com. And that might be everything now.
Is that everything?
So do us a solid, watch Abbott Elementary so it doesn't get canceled for Samantha, and also keep barking. Goodbye.
All right, bye.
Bye.